Hi, my name is Randall Langdon and I'm a civil engineer with the City of Launceston. I'm here today at the Queen Victoria Museum and Art Gallery with one of their old Launceston trolley buses in their collection. This is typical of the trolley buses that were operated in Launceston from the early 50s, 1951 through to the 1960s. As you can see, they're a fairly substantial bus even by today's standards, and from memory they could seat about 40 people, and I think they're also licensed to carry a same amount standing up as well. So they certainly carried a lot of people. Back in the 50s and 60s, not everyone had a car, so we really relied on public transport system, and everyone would have had, who lived in Launceston in those days would have had a ride in one of these buses. Some things I remember about them is that because they were electric, one, they were very quiet, and for those of you who understand about electric motors, it's instantaneous torque, and so they accelerated away really quickly, and if you weren't quick enough to grab your seat, you got lurched around inside. When the buses were originally envisaged and as a concept, and reports were written to council and so forth, and finally a design was accepted and tenders let. And so these buses were actually made in Adelaide, transported by ship to Hobart, and because they're electric, getting them to Launceston was something that a pretty novel way of doing it. They towed them all the way with a small tow truck. When they got here, they widely accepted and in use, but over time, because of the weight of them and always running regular routes, they started to chop up our roads. So we're here at Wellington Street. We're on the current roadwork site where we're replacing or covering over the concrete strips. So these concrete strips were actually started in a program from 1954, and at the time they actually thought it would take about 10 years to get them in across the city. You'll see that they are actually in two strips, which are roughly 3 metres by 6 metres in length, and you can see too that there is an expansion joint between each strip. And over the years there's been some wear and movement of these slabs, and the expansion joint oozes up, and that creates the familiar bump, bump, bump as we drive along the road. That can be annoying to drivers, residents alike, and so there's, I suppose it's time that, or timely, that we bring the road up to a modern standard, hence the uniform asphalt overlay. As most people would remember, or recall at least, trams came to Launceston in about 1911, I think was the date, and they ran, as the name suggests, ran on rails, and so they didn't need a strengthened road beneath them. So after World War II, they started to look for a new public transport system for Launceston, and they chose the electric trolley buses, as they were called. It seemed that they maybe have underestimated the weight of those vehicles, and under the constant loads, and of course normal traffic loads were increasing after the war as well. And so after about 3 years from the introduction, the road started to break up quite badly and rut and cut, and there are Examiner News reports of the period which show flat tyres or buses embedded up to the axles in our pavements. So the council of the day had to bite the bullet and begin on the concrete as a suitable long-term heavy-duty replacement to the traditional tar roads. As a child, I do remember riding in a trolley bus up and down this very road between various my grandparents and to visit an auntie and so forth. They were very smooth, the electric motors. There was just so smooth and quiet. I can even remember it to this day, and they're not smelly like the old diesel buses that they used to go on the lesser routes in those days, but it was a very smooth ride over what was then a very smooth concrete pavement as well. Being electric, they ran on overhead wires, and I do remember looking up and down these streets now. I can still see all the wires in the sky that were needed. So each route had 2 wires, overhead wires either way, and every now and then, for whatever reason, the mechanism would jump off the wires and the bus would come to a halt. The driver would have to get out with a special pole and back up onto the overhead wires, and off you would go again.